Thank you very much, Sharon. Great welcome, and we're very privileged to have you on our Professional Advisory Council. So Asthma Australia we've been around as a collection of organisations for over 50 years, but Asthma Australia Limited is relatively new. We're just 2 years old because we are the merger of a number of asthma foundations around Australia, which is really exciting because it's the start of combining our resources together to be able to achieve more. And we're here to speak to you on whether those you aim to serve are really at the heart of your organisation, because we took a really hard look at ourselves and thought, actually, a lot of what we're doing was tokenistic, and we were presuming to know what people needed and wanted. And so we're only at the very start of the journey, so disclaimer, we don't have any answers, but we can at least share part of what we're learning and doing with you. So why do we exist? We've done a lot of work to try and reduce this down to something simple, and obviously we exist to help people breathe, but as a result of some comprehensive research we did late last year, ultimately asthma is holding people back from being their best and achieving their full potential. So breathing, by being able to breathe, that will enable people to live freely, achieve their goals, aspirations. And what do? We have a whole range of activities. So we offer telephone support, we have a helpline, we have a coaching program to work with people to set goals that are meaningful to them and then to encourage them to achieve them. We have a comprehensive online platform, website, social media, apps, etc., so that people can access support, tips, tools whenever and wherever they need them. We're about making schools safe for kids. Parents are really worried when kids are no longer in their care. So we train well over 10,000 school staff every year to recognise and manage asthma emergencies. We train the community on asthma first aid. Just as an indication, how many people in the audience have asthma? And keep your hands up. And how many people have a direct family member with asthma? So you can see it has a pretty big impact on the community, and you never know when you might be someone, I don't have asthma, but where I could be shopping at the park and see someone who's having an asthma attack. So it's incumbent on all of us to know asthma first aid. You can only live without air for minutes. We support cutting edge research, so to find new ways to better diagnose, manage and treat asthma. But importantly, and this is a core part of our strategic direction, to focus more strongly on translational research and implementation science and behavioural research, so that we're not just funding investigator-led research, but we're actually learning how to be more effective ourselves. And we advocate on issues that are important to people with asthma: tobacco smoke, hazard reduction, burns, medications not being affordable, a whole range of things. And our services are free, so it's incumbent on us to raise funds to support our work through government, corporates and the broader community. And the scale of our current challenge is huge. So as you saw from the show of hands before, it impacts a huge number of people in the community, 1 in 9, 70,000 ED presentations each year, 40,000 hospitalisations, of which 80% are avoidable. And that's the unique thing about this chronic condition. There's many other very important, serious chronic conditions. With asthma, we actually know what to do. It's just about putting the strategies into practice. And unfortunately, it still takes the lives of some 400 Australians each year. And 70% of those are avoidable. These aren't people who are living with severe forms of the disease. These are people who are underestimating the impact of asthma and getting caught out. And we've had no progress in 2 decades. So over the 50 years we've been around, we've seen great declines in deaths and hospitalisations. But if we just look at the data for the last 2 decades, hospitalisations and deaths have flatlined. So as Einstein always says, definition of insanity, do the same thing and expect a different outcome. We need to find new approaches. And our big, hairy, audacious goal is to halve avoidable asthma presentations by 2030. And we know we don't have the answers internally to do that, and we know we can't do it alone. So we're going to have to work collaboratively with the community. And one of our strategies is to pull our heads out of the sand. but to give consumers a voice and to not be so internally focused and to look externally and to embrace and engage with consumers to provide the answers going forward. And that's the engagement spectrum. So really, we're starting from way on the left here with the blue inform. We're guilty of having framed what the problems are, having designed well-developed brochures of programs, and then going to consumers and asking them what they think and maybe changing a title or a colour or a diagram. But we're on this journey towards becoming a truly consumer-led organisation, and we're probably there's sometimes we're consultative and other times where we're being more successful now in involving consumers. Why do we set out on the journey? Well, our challenge is to shift the status quo and to shift the dial for people with asthma. We recognised that our current approaches were tokenistic, and we appreciated that consumers could help us be a lot more effective in achieving our purpose through providing valuable insights, different perspectives, and we have some pretty great conversations around our Consumer Advisory Council meetings, and unlocking new ideas for new approaches. So what have we done? We established just over a year ago a Consumer Advisory Council. This is our great council, and we've tried to be as representative as we could, but we struggled a bit in terms of gender. You can see Julia up on the top left. And together with the council, we've developed principles of engagement. You might not be able to read them all, but the first one, represented by the heart, that consumers are the centre of all we do, that we have supported and capable consumers, that we embrace diversity and inclusion, and that one in particular has been quite challenging for us. So in our first year, that's something we've highlighted as a priority to focus on in this next year. Entrenching a shared focus, and being trustworthy and continue to be the expert voice, but not just the experts of the medical practitioners and the researchers, the experts, because we're projecting the lived experience. And we've developed a consumer engagement strategy, and that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Julia to hear what the journey's been like from the perspective of a counsellor.
Thanks for having me, everyone. So my name is Julia, as I've been introduced. So I'm an asthmatic. I look like a pretty healthy person. I live with a very severe chronic illness, and asthma to me is a blind disease. At any given moment on any given day, I am one asthma attack away from mortality. So I have been really close to death on numerous occasions. Lucky for me, I've got both forms of asthma at the severe level. So I'm currently participating on my 6th medical trial. And when I came here today to share my story, I thought I'd write a letter to asthma. So this is my letter. Dear asthma, you take my breath away. I have lived with you most of my life. I don't like you, and I never will. For over 25 years, I've battled with you every day, and I'm tired. You restrict my life, and you restrict me from living life of freedom. You make the simplest task difficult. By this, on a good day like today, I can live a normal life doing normal things every day. On a bad day, it's a struggle to do something like collect the mail. Because of you, I've sacrificed so much in my life, but you will not beat me. And I think that's a really key message with the Consumer Advisory Council and the asthma community as a whole. And when I got the amazing opportunity to join the Consumer Advisory Council, it was about coming together with my friends at Asthma Australia to build a community to fight against this horrible disease, to help people live a life uninhabited, to breathe freely, because it really ain't easy being wheezy. And so that brings me to what it has meant for me and what I have got from joining the Consumer Advisory Council so far. So it truly is non-tokenistic. I've been invited to other areas where it's just been one person, a voice, it's a tick box. We've engaged with the consumer and that's it. The council is amazing. We truly have changed and shaped so much at Asthma Australia, and I totally credit them for how they've embraced the change and made the strategic plan. You saw the plan that Michelle just shared with you. The entire Consumer Engagement Council, or the CAC, which I know is a terrible shortening. So I take time off work to go to AA meetings with the CAC. Try and explain that to your boss. But, you know, we've truly been able to make change within the whole organisation. We've been embraced to have that voice. There's a huge amount of respect from the Professional Advisory Council, Asthma Australia, all the staff, everybody that's involved. They really understand that we bring our own lived experience and that is, you know, a huge resource pool. For me, it's a huge and exciting opportunity. Finally, I can be part of something that is changing and will hopefully leave a huge legacy for all asthmatics and the community as a whole. And it's something that really is shaping the world as far as education and community within the asthma realm. Where I feel that the CAC, and me in particular, has had the most change so far, and it's only been a short time, but already we've made huge leaps forward, shaping Australia's future in the foundation and the core values. The rebranding. So we've totally rebranded the whole of Asthma Australia. So very quickly, and I know we're short on time, we had an old logo with the Asthma Foundation. It was a blue balloon. I hated the balloon. I was part of a program where I had to go and blow up balloons. Now, I don't know about you, but it's hard to blow up a balloon. Try doing that when you can't breathe. A balloon didn't resonate with our core people. So we really nutted that out as a Consumer Advisory Council with Asthma Australia, and now we have this beautiful new logo, which is much more representative of what we do. Huge transformation in merging the states together and becoming one organisation, and the rebranding with that, and also ensuring consumers are the key and making really good, valuable, informative decisions within the organisation. How do we continue to embed person-centredness for the future to ensure we continue on this journey? I think there's 3 key things. Utilise individual skills. So the 12 counsellors all come from various walks of life. They all have their own personal journeys, but they also have their own individual professions outside of it. They're all volunteers, so tapping into what their expertises are, what backgrounds they have, and really utilising that to help on individual projects. Learning to utilise their traits more deeply across the organisation, and breaking that down into specific, more tailored, intimate projects rather than just as a whole board. And fostering the organisation to work together. I mean, it's really hard to have an organisation and have a team that works well, and then having 12 people like myself suddenly come in and tell you what to do. I mean, that's not easy, right? But the team at Asthma Australia have been absolutely amazing in embracing us and hearing us. And we don't always agree with each other. So they've really listened to all of our voices. A couple of highlights I just want to share, because we measure how our success has been, and we've actually surveyed all the counsellors, and this is some of their feedback. So meeting others, being passionate about advocating for those with asthma was one of the highlights. Liaising with staff and presenting before politicians. So we took some of our counsellors to Canberra, so that was a highlight for them. I've been impressed by the open, inclusive and respectful way the counsellors have operates. I feel that my MC role at Parliament House was a great opportunity for me to do something well, but also continue to strengthen me too. And I think that's a really important point, because not only do the counsellors feel like they're helping with the organisation, but it's helping them grow as individuals as well. And being able to participate and being involved in shaping Asthma Australia's future, the brand, has also been a fabulous point for someone. This is something we developed as a team, so part of the council with Asthma Australia. This is our tone piece, which was part of our strategic heart, our strategic plan and our new website, and we'd like to share this with you.
The world seems to spin so fast that sometimes you feel like you need to stop and catch your breath. For a growing number of Australians, the simple act of breathing is getting harder and harder. At Asthma Australia, we've been helping people to breathe better since 1962. We've learned there's a powerful joy in being able to breathe freely, to be spontaneous, to participate, to compete, to sing at the top of your lungs. It's time to reach your full potential, to feel uninhibited and see life through a lens of limitless opportunity. We know that we need to discard old ways of thinking that keep people stuck in the same treatment cycles without sustained improvement or change. Asthma needs to be spoken for. It's time to break free. At Asthma Australia, we dream big, we inspire, we say what needs to be said and ask the questions that still need to be answered. We've built a community that supports and guides those who need it and empowers them to take control. Using the latest treatments and research, we are helping people to achieve well-being where they work, live and play. Change is in the air. Our spotlight shines brightly on people with asthma, helping them to breathe life in. We are making the most of every breath to enable Australians to live freely today and look forward to a better tomorrow.
Okay. So change, there's a common theme there in the conference. It's one thing to want to change, it's another thing to know how to do it. And we don't have all the answers. Certainly there's some pretty big challenges that we need to overcome. Luke was talking about paradigm shifts. It's a paradigm shift. We've been working for 50 years where having a very strong evidence base has been really important and continues to be. But it's about matching the medical and academic paradigm with listening, with bringing the lived experience to the fore and having consumers also shape what's going to work. And that's kind of challenging, especially trying to identify where those things intersect and can coexist to work well together. And I think Julia touched on, the challenges of hearing many diverse voices and also managing expectations. Because not everything that everybody suggests obviously can be done in practice. So some of the learnings for anyone else looking to amplify consumer voice in your organisation, active listening, that's been a common theme that's come up too, is really hard to do. One of my core measures of success for our council meetings is how much talking have we done versus how much listening. And I walk away feeling energised from meetings if I've been taking copious notes and we haven't said much. And I, on the converse of that, sometimes I reflect after meetings that probably we were speaking a little bit too much and not asking enough questions and not creating enough opportunities to really listen. Managing expectations I've touched on. Not being able to do everything at once. We're all quite ambitious. So that's an ongoing challenge. Providing feedback to close the loop is really important. So there are so many different ways that you can engage with communities. We're not very good at going back and actually talking about how we've taken those views, perspectives, suggestions on hand, and where things haven't been able to be followed or put into practice, why not? We found that that's been really important to close the loop. And we've got 12 really inspiring, passionate counsellors, but it is 12 people, and the community is large and diverse. So our ambition is to now broaden that to 120 asthma champions, people that can be the touch points in their local communities to feed up challenges and issues, who can speak to the media on our behalf, who can advocate to their local MPs. We had over 150 people apply to join our council, which kind of blew us away. So it's how can we mobilise that passion that exists out there? And I think somebody has touched on customer journey mapping. So this is another area we're currently grappling with. And if there's anyone that's got any experience in this area, I'd love to hear from you. But Yeah, it's not just about understanding insights at a particular point in time. It's really about mapping what the customer journey has been throughout the whole process. So we hear stories from people that it took them up to 18 months just to get a diagnosis of asthma, and all the trials and tribulations that they've been through. I see someone nodding in the audience, through that process. And then the horrific stories about doctors who have not even provided any education, who just slip a piece of paper over the counter with some scrawly writing on it, and then you go to the pharmacy and you get this complicated contraption that you've got no idea how to use. So there's a lot that we need to understand around what the full journey looks like, and that will help inform us, you know, where we've got existing services that are well targeted. What are the moments that matter in that journey where we can support people to improve things, to address pain points, or to take advantage of opportunities that are identified? Where do we need to innovate and develop new approaches to plug some of those gaps? And where, and you know, Sharon touched on it, where are we not actually the best placed organisation to do that, but where can we influence and catalyse change and partner with others and the broader health system to address some of those gaps? And the fourth area is in connection, and that's probably going to take us a bit longer to get right, but I think that's probably the opportunity for the greatest impact, where we can just be the catalyst to bring peers together, because I think peers connecting, sharing their stories, supporting each other has a lot of potential to shift the dial. So just some takeaways. And we talked about the importance of stories as well, and sharing those stories. We've found that too, you know, you share some of those not very pretty statistics with policymakers and government funders, and eyes kind of glaze over, but you hear one powerful story from one person and it moves people. So that's certainly been something we can relate to. And I just wanted to share this quote because I think it sums it all up. So that's it.